I am hearing that fuzz, that whine. Does that mean your cable is the same old cable?
Look, it's a complicated story. The cable did come. It's
Okay.
right here,
Okay.
but it's the wrong one.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Did you get a micro
Basically,
USB instead of a mini USB?
uh, no. The issue. So the reason why I got it is because I've got this new MacBook Pro, and they don't have the old USB ports,
Yeah, USB C.
USB C. So they're surprisingly hard to find. I
But
did
what's the
order
other end?
the other one is like the printer cable thing.
USB B.
I don't know. It's kind of a
It's like a tiny
yeah,
little squarey one,
yeah. It's got a little bit of a square on it. Yeah.
like a sort of trapezoid.
Yes. Yes, like that. But I have ordered another one.
Cool, cool, cool. So everyone listening at home can get excited. One more episode of a little bit of electrical fuzz. Cheers.
Probably many more.
Let's just hope it's cable, man.
Look, I reckon, like, I know you have to edit it and everything, but I think if you just didn't bring it up, no one would know.
Yeah, they don't know because I spend fucking 2 hours getting rid of it every week.
There you go.
Okay, problem solved.
Problem solved.
How you doing, man? You got that big old moustache, pride of place now. I think that's probably your number one attribute. When people, if you were to rob a bank, I think the first thing people would say is had a moustache.
It is quite distinctive.
Yeah.
I was just looking at myself in the Skype mirror before you joined this call, and I was just thinking, fuck, maybe it's the lighting, maybe it's the day that I've had, but I look very old.
You look a little bit, and please don't take this the wrong way, I mean it as a compliment.
Already
You look
have.
like a sex pest. You look like someone
How could I
who's.
take that the wrong way?
You do look a little bit like if you walked past the children's playground, I'd be watching that pace. And if you slowed down too much, I'd be on my phone.
Yeah, well, I do like to look at children playing, not in a sexual way, but it kind of brings up this kind of childlike joy in
It's
myself. I'm like,
soothing. Yeah, it's
look
like
at
quite
them
zen.
just enjoying life and living in the present.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. I probably do stare way too long.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that some people have sort of made gestures or maybe even said something to you. And I think it's about time you start to take that feedback on board.
Well, lately I've just been taking the initiative and just telling the parents, hey, look, I might be sticking around here for a little bit longer than you might feel comfortable with, but I'm not staring in a sexual manner. And
Yeah.
that honestly seems to make things worse.
That's weird. That is weird because you've said outright it's not what they're worried about.
I'm trying to nip it in the bud.
Yeah. Oh, well, I guess keep trying.
Is it nip it in the bud or nip it in the butt?
It's definitely the first one. Yeah, you
Okay.
got it right straight away, and I don't think we needed to go back and clarify.
Okay. How are
Learn
you?
something every day. I'm good. I'm good. It feels like it's been a busy few weeks. We've been deep in the weeds writing our next show, and which is quite exciting. So keeping this scripting momentum going.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, we had a deadline that we're working towards of June, July, and now that has become end of April. So we are on an accelerated timeline, but it's good.
Nice. Are you have you settled into your house?
Into my house.
Yeah, have you have you just moved into that house? I'm just saying that because
You mean in August last year, 8 months ago?
I've I've never seen this angle, and it
Okay.
looks a bit sparse.
Okay. What do you mean? There's like paintings on the wall.
I don't know if they necessarily go with the feel of the room.
You can't see the room.
Well,
It's my office.
got a
Okay.
snapshot.
Okay. This was an area of discussion during those Zoom years when we were in lockdowns and pandemics. Do you have? I'll get out of the way so you can have a sort of a clean look. Do you have opinions about this backdrop versus my previous one? I'm ducking aside.
I mean, I like it. I do like it. I do like the painting. The one it's kind of like a sci-fi painting, is it?
It's really cool. This one's called The Fall of Icarus. It's by a Christchurch artist. It's a print. It's not an original, but it was quite a famous one, or quite a famous guy. And it was
Icarus.
in the Christchurch. Yeah, Icarus. He's his name's
he
got
doing
around. I think he drowned. Unexpected ending, but yeah.
No, I'm sorry for slagging off your decor. It's fine.
It's acceptable.
It's honestly fine.
I'm
I
also
can't
wearing
really-
a
I
white
can't really
t-shirt
talk,
against
can I?
like white walls, so I feel like I'm just giving you a bit of a bland vibe today, and for that I
Yeah.
apologize.
Well, it's also. I thought I've looked at the shirt before. It's also got little spots on it, and that's just a bit. I don't like the spots.
Okay, is this going to be
This is-
preoccupying
this
you
is
for
the
the
ener-
rest of the episode?
This is the energy I'll be bringing today.
Okay, so should I change the shirt or put on a top? Is that what we're saying here? Otherwise, it's just going to derail this whole fucking thing.
No,
No, there's nothing that
I'm
can
going to
be
get
done.
over it. I'm a big boy. I can move on.
Okay, well, we'll keep that in mind, listeners, and we'll check back in later to see whether it's held true. Held true. Welcome to Deep Fort, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome to the next 100, and we're excited to be here, picking up, lots of new fans, and ready to really make a go of this thing for real this time. Sitting through the internet with me, my friend Michael. Hey, how you doing?
Hey, the voice of the people himself.
The voice of the people. Wish I hadn't told you. Yes, you were described as the voice of the people, which I worry may have gone straight to your head.
It went straight to my head like a speeding Japanese train.
Okay.
Weird.
You
But
were going
yeah,
to say bullet, and then you decided that a bullet to the head was not the metaphor that you wanted.
it was I thought bullet. I did think bullet, but then I thought bullet train. Take it up a level.
A bullet train's faster than bullets, though? I don't think so. I think they're slower than bullets.
Well, a Shinkansen.
Okay, still
Yeah,
quite a fast.
I should have
train,
said
but
that. I should have said that.
Still not bullet speed. I would have thought. Anyway, in the weeds.
Anyway, I'm here to be an ambassador for the everyman and woman.
Yeah. You're
As
an
I always
advocate.
have, an advocate for everyone except anyone that's got more money or more intelligence than me. I do not represent you.
that I don't think that they would have thought either way that you did. So I think that you can safely sit that side of the Venn diagram out and just focus on the people in your bubble, which again, to repeat, is
The working
blue
class.
collar workers.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Good. We're honing in. And your famous, power to the people saying is,
Let's just keep it real, my people. Let's just keep it fresh.
that's why you're the voice and I'm not.
That's my slogan.
Yes. Oh, so tell me why your day has been difficult.
Honestly, just because I was just having a regular day, and then you rushed me into a podcast / coerced.
I didn't rush you. I asked you 2 days ago.
No, and then I said I was having a little bit of a moment yesterday. I wasn't in the space to make thousands of people laugh. So I thought,
Yeah. And it's lucky because that's often what we have to do. So, keeping that.
I just couldn't bring it yesterday. I don't know what it was. I just was feeling off.
That's okay. We respect that. And this
But
is a
then,
safe space. You can tell us anything.
But then at 2 p.m. today, Nick sends me a message saying, "Can you make a podcast work?" And I try and do whatever I can to make Nick happy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I dropped everything and I raced home after picking up some snacks and going to the gym.
Yeah.
And then raced home after that short 2-minute walk home. Sprinted.
Right.
Actually,
It doesn't sound like you had as hard a day as maybe the tone of your voice is suggesting.
well, now I'm just a bit tired and cranky because I'm flustered. You
Okay.
don't like me flustered. You don't want to.
I'm getting
Nick-
that vibe now.
You do not want to get me flustered, baby.
Okay,
You do not want to see me flustered.
I'm getting that feeling, yeah.
But I was walking from the gym. Just speaking about me, while we're on the subject of me,
Yeah.
um, it's dark now. It's daylight saving, as you know. It
Yep.
happens very rapidly, that darkness that
Uh-huh.
comes, it's that first
It's
week.
fully psychological, right? Like it doesn't make sense that it would feel so different because the difference one day to the next is like a minute's earlier, right? A minute earlier sunset. But the psychological feeling of it is like instantaneous. All of a sudden that hour being darker earlier, it completely changes the day, completely changes the vibe.
Oh yeah, because your routine, it's how your routine fits in with it, I think, And I was walking back and I just came out of the gym and I was like, it's dark. What the fuck? It's never dark. Then I remembered. I'm walking home. As I said, it's like a 2-minute walk. And some lady is walking super slow, holding me up. But then I'm kind of aware that I'm following her, you
Yeah.
know,
And now it's
not,
dark.
and now it's dark. So
Yeah.
I cross this, I cross into the road, not, I cross off the footpath and
I
into
walked
the,
into traffic.
well, I went onto the road for a little bit. It's a quiet street. I held that for a little bit just to get past it. Almost got clipped by a car. So
Hashtag ally.
that's why, you know, I feel like I'm an ally and a voice for women because I
Yeah.
protect women.
And you've often said as well that women are people. So not only are you voice of the people, but that includes voice for women.
They are in a sense people.
Yeah. The context now of you having quote unquote rushed home from the gym does add a different timbre to the fact that you're drinking what looks to be like a Chardonnay, which
Yeah.
is sort of perhaps not the typical post workout drink, but
No, well,
it's
I
very
had it.
classy.
Well, this is what I mean, Nick. You've thrown my whole thing out. Usually, I go to the gym and then I'll make myself a very high protein, very healthy dinner. Then I might have a glass of wine after dinner or with
Mhm.
dinner. Because you've squeezed, because you
I
squished,
really didn't rush you.
Nick. Just take responsibility. Because you've squished and condensed my night. Now I have to squeeze in the glass of wine now, and then I have to get a kebab later.
Okay, I can but apologize for
Do you
this.
see what I mean?
Yeah, this horrible injustice. Um, oh dear. Well, look, let's keep this one tight. Last episode, 2 hours on the dot, 200th episode, big deal, big episode. We
It
don't
was a
need to
good
hit
app.
any of that high this week. Let's keep it tight. Let's keep it to the point. Let's minimize the jokes and just get straight to the rambling. And I think everyone will be better for it.
Have we not already gotten to the rambling?
We're consistently with it. But I have actually a story here that I thought we could touch on because as a voice of the people, I feel like it's going to be right up your wheelhouse. Let me.
Wait, can we just give some context as to why I'm the voice of the people? just to linger on me just a
I don't
second
know. Do
more.
you want more context, or do you want it just to have manifested itself?
Okay, I'm going to give the context, and you're not
Okay,
going to give any of the context.
sure.
So Nick sends me a message the other day saying my personal trainer
Nick's personal trainer, my
is
trainer.
listening to the podcast and described you, Michael, my prince, as a voice for the people. And that's it, Nick, and that's it. And we'll leave it at that. Now let's go on to
There
your
was
story.
okay. There were other
Don't
things said. You don't want me to put
I
the
don't
full
think it's
commentary?
necessary.
Just
I don't think
you
it's
just want
necessary.
okay. Well, we'll just leave it there then, and
Okay.
assume that it's at face value the compliment that it sounds.
He did say that.
He did say it.
Say that.
He did. He 100% said it.
Okay.
So no taking that back.
Moving on.
How about we do a little bit of science news?
Ooh, early.
It's that time. Time for science news.
Yes, science news, but I feel like this is going to be our topic du jour, and it's based off a study. So I figure let's wrap it under this heading. The Duke Institute for Brain Sciences has published a study and a associated press release, and I just want to read this out, and then we can talk about it. So, the topic here is managers exploit loyal workers over less committed colleagues. A loyal worker gets more extra work than the fair, honest, or the disloyal. Do you know anything about this, Michael?
Nothing. But
Okay.
I feel like I am one of these disloyal people.
Here we go. Okay. Company loyalty is a double-edged sword, according to a new study. Managers target loyal workers over less committed colleagues when doling out unpaid work and additional job tasks. Companies want loyal workers, and there's a ton of research showing that loyal workers provide all sorts of positive benefits to companies, said Matthew Stanley, PhD, the lead researcher on the new paper. But it seems like managers are apt to target them for exploitative practices. That's the main conclusion from a series of experiments conducted by Stanley and his colleagues, blah, blah, blah. For the study, Stanley recruited nearly 1,400 managers online to read about a fictional 29-year-old employee named John. The managers all learned that John's company was on a tight budget, and to keep costs down, had to decide how willing they would be to task John with extra hours and responsibilities without any extra pay. No matter how Stanley and his colleagues framed the scenario, branding John as loyal always resulted in managers being more willing to ask him to shoulder the unpaid labor. Managers were more willing to exploit loyal John over disloyal John. And when a separate group of managers read a letter of recommendation about John, the letters praising him as loyal led to an increased willingness to recruit him for unpaid work over versions of John extolled for honesty or fairness. The reverse was true too. When John was portrayed as having a reputation to accept extra hours and workload, managers rated him as more loyal than a John who had a reputation to decline the same workload. Agreeable John and refusal John were rated as similarly honest and fair, demonstrating that loyalty, but not closely related moral traits, is bolstered by a history of doing free labor. It is a vicious cycle, Stanley said. Loyal workers tend to get picked out for exploitation, and then when they do something that's exploitative, they end up getting a boost in their reputation as a loyal worker, making them more likely to get picked out in the future. So there's more to it there, but I found this to be quite an interesting, if perhaps not hugely surprising for anyone who's worked in certain office environments, confirmation of those kind of practices. So I guess I wanted to talk sort of broadly here, Michael, about what you think about this in particular, and also the kind of, white collar job environment that you've been working in these past few years, and anything connected there.
No, I love this because it confirms my strategy, which has always been to keep a distance from the company, do as little as possible, and hope to get rewarded for it, which I am and have been. So even from, the Wallace days, I know this is talking about white collar work, but I guess working as
still with a manager, yeah.
Work. I remember the first day I got asked to do a chalk top, to make the chalk tops with the things, and I realized by the third chalk top that I hated that, and so I just vowed to do every time I got asked, I just said I'll do this terribly, and I very quickly got stopped being asked to do it. So, I've carried that into my professional career.
Just to confirm, when I, as front of house supervisor, asked you to make chalk tops, you were deliberately doing a bad job?
Deliberately make them shit. I would literally poke a finger
holes in
them.
Yeah.
I hated it.
I mean, poking the finger in that was sort of a helpful thing to do, because at the end of the night, if it's not sold, it had to go somewhere, and people would often take them home.
That's
you don't
true.
want to be food wastage. So the the fact that a chalk top might have been damaged for any reason did often result in the workers then having a free dessert on the trip home, and that it was a known fact.
Now you're a very diligent guy, and I feel like I've worked with you once at Wallace, and I really get the sense from you and from your incessant
Just overall
of me
demeanor
on this podcast that you and the reason why this speaks to you is because you feel like you've suffered as a result of this, and Is that why you are bringing this article up? Is that why you're interested in it?
Well, I did find it interesting. I wouldn't say necessarily that I feel too much of that in my own history of work. I think it's probably true in the Wallace context, working at the cinema, maybe slightly more than in my later jobs, like working in TV, because in TV, everyone is working hard all the time. It's very hard to sort of skate through without doing your job and still hold on to it. But I would be lying if I didn't think that there were people at Wallace who 100% did not put in a modicum of effort in just about anything they did. And that did irritate me. Maybe not because they weren't asked to do the same extra jobs that I was, but mostly almost like idealistically, I wanted to believe that we were all like putting in an effort and that it mattered equally to us, but it just wasn't the case.
We were putting in an effort. It just happens that some of us might have been on acid for some shifts.
Yeah. And I think as people noticed, yeah.
Well, the children didn't.
The children wouldn't have the language. They would have noticed.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I've got heaps to say on this. It is interesting that I mean, it's not interesting in the sense that people in power, the managers, are more willing to give those loyal employees more work because it's non-confrontational. You know, it's like if you're more obedient, then you're less likely to be confrontational, and I think that might be a big part of this. If like if you're a non-confrontational manager, an obedient, loyal worker is a dream to you. So you're going to be like, all right, can you do this? Can you do this? I mean,
that's interesting. I hadn't thought about it from that angle, but it does ring true. I guess if you're tasked with needing to solve a problem and you can either go to the person who does it poorly or is going to clock off on the dot of 5 o'clock or is going to give you shit about being asked to do it in the first place, then you are probably more likely to go to the person who is not going to, throw it back in your face.
yeah.
It is just it is counterintuitive to what I guess you would hope the behavior is, right? Like that was the whole thing about efficiency in the workplace. And I suppose it's something that touches on what we talked about last week with AI and computerization and that sort of thing, which is that worker productivity over the past 3, 4, 5 decades has astronomically increased. Like the amount of work being done and run by an individual now is, there's so much more happening. And yet the expectation continues to be do more, fill the time now with more on top of that, even though what you're achieving in a day is possibly, a week's worth if you go back 40 years. Do you have a sense whether this seems sustainable to you? Do you have a sense about the direction of work and management in terms of how that kind of workload is going to be apportioned?
Well, it's tough if you haven't actually experienced it. It's tough to comment on it. What I was thinking about when you were speaking was that there's been a shift from working in the office to working from home, and for me, those two things kind of happened at the same time. When I started, my
wait, sorry, which two? The two things that happened at the same time were not working at the office and working from home. Is that what you just said?
I had two thoughts, and one of them came out, and then I assumed that everyone heard the other one.
Sure.
What I was saying is that when I effectively started my career properly, we shifted very quickly to working from home, and very quickly I got very used to working from home, and preferred it a lot. I know that some people are exclusively working from home. I've got like a hybrid situation going where I'm in maybe 2 or 3 days and then working from home 2 days. But I feel myself getting resentful when I'm asked to be in the office.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily anything to do with the workload. I think it has more to do with the fact that I can't sit still in an office and it doesn't have enough natural light. and I feel like confined, and I just feel like I work better when I'm like comfortable in my own space.
Yeah, I mean,
know that
100%. The other thing, of course, is that workplaces are kind of awful. Like most of them, as you say, are designed without light, but they're also like horribly ventilated. You're exposing yourself to like colds and flus, let alone COVID these days. But like even historically, you were walking into whatever germs, your colleagues' kids had just brought in. And then you're often, at least in the past 20 years, in these like open office environments, which are just so full of distractions, so impossible for focus, for even productive collaboration. When you in this big echo chamber of like just open desks and no privacy, no cubicles, no concentration space, it's no fucking surprise people prefer being at home because, as you say, you can have it the way you like it, whatever temperature you prefer. Offices historically were set to the temperature of men's preferences, men who wore suits all day, and women would freeze their literal tits off. And if you're working from home, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah. And there is, I mean, Lauren, for example, she's been working from home almost exclusively since 2020, and she kind of she really misses that human interaction and feels like she gets, her work has maybe not suffered as a result of not having that human interaction, but she feels like it's a necessary part, so she'll opt to go into the office whenever she can. I just feel like I think some companies still have this old way of thinking where they like, well, we need them to be. They just assume that you're not doing the work, or like we need you to be here so we can keep an eye on you. I mean, I'm employed by a university essentially, and they very much have that mentality where they're like, oh no, it's fine, you can work from home, but we want you to definitely be in 3 days a week. Why? I don't get anything out of working from the office those 2 days. And the worst thing about it all, which is I had this written down as a peeve, Nick, is that sometimes you have to have lunch with the people you work with. And I just think that's disgusting. Why?
What do you mean?
Why do we have to eat together just because we work together? I think it's
well,
it's
you're not
disgusting.
forcing you in the room. Wait, okay. There's so many things. Why is it disgusting? But also, they're not forcing you in the room. Just go out and buy your lunch somewhere. Sit in a park.
No, it's the obligation. I'm constantly being asked, oh, do you want to have lunch? And I have to say yes.
Do you want to have lunch as in, do you want to go out and eat lunch?
No. Do you
just want to come into the room with me and eat lunch?
Do you want to go to the tea room to have lunch?
Oh.
I'm like, I want my lunch to be like I'm doing a poo-poo. It's a very private time, okay? I'll eat
want to be
people.
On my phone for 35 minutes.
I shit like I eat. I'll eat with people that I love, and I'll share with people that I love. But I don't want to have a fucking tedious conversation while Karen's got bits of granola in her teeth. It upset that. Honestly, that is my biggest gripe with working from the office.
It's just the number one reason that you dislike going to the office is having to eat lunch with people.
Yeah.
That's not what I would have pegged.
It will never peg me, Nick. Never peg me.
Okay. Isn't the solution there? Like you're an intermittent faster. Why don't you just say I don't eat lunch?
I mean, I could. I mean, I just feel bad. I feel like some people really want it. Some like officey people, they don't have much of a social life. So when they come to the office, I think it is part of their social life. So they're like, oh, we'll get to have lunch all together. Or we'll get to, mate, do you want to go for drinks after work? Are you kidding? Do you think that I hate myself? Do you think that I don't value my time?
Okay, but this is very much like contextual, right? This depends on your office environment. If you're, the new grad fresh out of, I don't know, accounting school, and you're going into an office and most of the people there are like 50 plus, and you're the 1 27-year-old, then that's a very different environment where it's like, oh, come and have lunch with me. I would get where you were like, I don't know what to say with you. If you're in an office environment where everyone's your age and like you worked at a fucking bar, are you telling me that you didn't enjoy like having a drink with those people much more your demographic?
I mean, yeah, because they were my friends.
Exactly.
But I think eating's different though, don't you? I mean, why? I just don't see the connection between working together and then eating together.
But what's so special about eating?
It's gross. I find people eating is gross.
Other
and I
people
can get
eating.
over it if I like you, but if I don't, it's like if you're just there. I mean, I'm constantly battling with this cacophony of sound and sights and gross and smells in an office environment that I just it's too much. And then to bring us in to have lunch opposite, so we're facing each other like it's a fucking date.
I'm sensing a bit of connective tissue here, right? Because there was that discussion we had a few episodes back about your gym myth.
Yeah.
You were annoyed that other people weren't wearing headphones because you were worrying that they would be listening to how much noise you were making. Yes. I'm getting this sense of like the sensory overload thing is a bit of a theme now.
Yes, and that's a good point because it is also, I think, part of the reason why I like my privacy when I eat is because I want to I don't want to feel self-conscious about the sounds that I make. I'm just realizing this is all coming from my dad. Yeah.
Oh.
It's all coming from, yeah. I've just had a breakthrough. Yeah.
So that'll be $200, please, and I'll see you next Tuesday.
Yeah, we weren't allowed to make noise when we ate when we were growing up, and that's for real.
Yeah.
And I just realized that's why. Okay. All good.
Problem solved.
Therapized myself with Nick.
Good. Well, I don't know how much more I have to say there.
I got us way off. No,
we were talking work. I mean, I suppose the other thing which we could circle around to, which has perhaps gone off the boil a little bit since it was sort of peaking at the end of last year, but the whole concept of quiet quitting, right? Like that was the topic of discussion, particularly in the context of coming back to work and dealing with these kind of managers. The concept being, it's a little bit of a misnomer, to be honest. I don't know that the name really reflects what you're doing, but the idea of turning up, clocking on, doing your, statutory minimum contractual obligations of whatever your job is, and that's it, no more, and setting that boundary, whether it is not working later or whether it is refusing those extra unpaid tasks, such as the mentioned in the study. Where do you think this trend has come from?
Millennials.
But where did they get it from? What's prompted that?
Look, I'm interested in this concept. I of the quiet quitting concept. I think it got way too much airtime, but I think part of that was because it was fodder for like boomers, because they were like, see, the millennials don't want to work that hard. Yeah. And I think there might even be something to that. I mean, not to say that there hasn't been quiet quitters in the past or in the 60s or 70s that they just didn't have the label for it. I'm sure there's a lot of people that kind of just did what they were asked to and not much more. It's an interesting concept. It's interesting to give it a name because essentially what you're doing is you're not trying to excel in your career. I guess that's what it is. Like if you want to go above and beyond, then you're, an ambitious person. I guess those two things are tied. Do you agree?
Yeah, I wouldn't say not necessarily ambitious. I guess maybe the context there is I want, I do want more, but I want to be paid for it. Like I'm not going to give a corporation more than it's giving me in return. And I suppose by the scientific definition, at least coming out of that paper, that behavior is what you'd call disloyal employees that do the minimum, but don't extend the hand to do the unpaid extra tasks, which is interesting, that fulfilling what they're obliged to do is still seen by managers as disloyal. Yeah.
I keep losing my thought, But I am having them. I just want to assure you, I
Okay,
am
good.
having them, but I'm losing them.
Okay. What I did want to ask was where you think this came from in terms of a cultural thing, because it does feel like it's become prominent, and I do think there is a
Quite quitting.
memification, quite quitting, but also that sort of reevaluation of what work's role is in one's life. Do you think that it's a meme sort of thing where because there's now these kind of social media platforms or this connectivity using the internet to spread these kind of ideas that these kind of things are passing around more easily, and one person's resilience or resistance becomes a movement, becomes an idea, becomes a concept? Or do you think that there's actually something manifestly different in the way that we're working today versus our generations previously that's prompted a retaliation?
I do think it's a generational. I think there's a generational element. There is an element of social media where, you've got a kind of, is it what is it? What is it when you have two words that have the same letter? Onomatopoeia,
Alliteration.
alliteration. That's kind of got a buzzy thing to it. So it's got a label. It's got like a Trumpian kind of
It's got a ring to it.
gimmick to it. I think that's a bit of it. I think. There's also a push. Yeah, maybe it could be. It could be the start of a working revolution. I think, as we are getting, not to get too into the weeds, but as technology is taking more jobs and automating more jobs, the jobs that were traditionally done by humans, I don't know, but I guess they're becoming fewer, and a lot of our jobs are becoming online based and computer based. So potentially we are, feeling like, I don't know, I don't need to be doing X, Y, and Z for my job, or I don't need to be like pushing in that area. That could be a part of it. There's also what I was going to say as well is that there's like, it's also kind of part and parcel with this 4-day work week kind of push. That's
Yeah.
also kind of building a little. It's hard to say if it's momentum or if it's just another internet kind of fad. But potentially with those two things together, it could signify that there is some sort of an upheaval of the 9 to 5 Monday to Friday.
Well, it's been interesting. It's good that you brought that back because I'd thought to say that earlier and lost it. But that has been an interesting thing about productivity too, which is that when people have introduced these 4-day work weeks, they haven't seen a loss of productivity, and it looks like that those hours in a work week, for many people at least, are padded, and that having a tighter deadline doesn't mean that you can't get that work done. It just means you don't fart around filling those hours as much, and that most people still report liking that 4-day work week because then you get 3 days of weekend at the end of it.
The 4-day work, 3-day weekends. Just I know, I know that it sounds, I don't know, maybe lazy, whatever, but it just feels so much more right. Like, it just in my soul, it feels right.
It's a nicer balance for sure. 5 and 2. What the fuck is that? 5 and 2.
2 days. That's not enough.
I also feel like, isn't it time that we metricized the work week? 7 days. 7 days in a week. 52 weeks in a year. 365. What are we doing here? What are we doing?
What are you proposing, Nick?
Look, 8 feels good to me. Doesn't 8 feel good? 8's just a nice number.
Does that fit in? Can you round?
I mean, look, some number boffins out there will have crunched the numbers and told you that that's quote unquote ridiculous or doesn't match the speed of the Earth's rotation, blah, blah, blah. 8 just feels better, man. 8 just feels... Imagine having a 4-day work week and then a 4-day holiday. Wouldn't that be nice? Doesn't that feel even more pleasing to the soul?
That feels very pleasing to my soul. Does it feel pleasing to the maths?
I mean,
division.
Okay. Do you want to do some? Let's do some basic maths here.
Let's. let's
Let's
try.
get.
Let's
I'm going to open up calculator.app.
because Nick, our best shot at this, at upheaving the traditional working week system, is if we come with suggestions.
Come with suggestions.
In the
It's
form
one
of
thing to say
mathematics.
we need changes. It's another to have an action plan.
Love
So
it.
here's my action plan. 45 8-day weeks is 360 days. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good start, I think. So we're getting close. You got 5 or 6 days there at the end of the year to do with what you like. Let's be realistic here. No one works over Christmas anyway. The
Not
gooch
a soul.
between
Apart from
Christmas
Santa.
and New Year's Eve is wasted space. No one does anything anyway. There you go. Boom. Built it into the calendar. It's its own special week. It already kind of is. Problem solved. 45 8-day weeks. 4 and 4. Problem solved.
Done.
It didn't even take long.
What happens to? Do we still have fortnights?
We have fortnights, but they're 16 days long.
Oh, that's
16.
easy.
16 is so much nicer than 14. You can't argue with me there. I will not take any questions at this time. Sounds perfect.
Yeah, the only people that would be arguing with you there are pedophiles.
Yes, which you now know how to spot from all your time hanging around playgrounds.
Takes one to know one.
I'm sure no one will ever cut this out of context. The point being that we've sold work and we've solved society.
Again. When will we stop? Did you end up watching any of this Gwyneth Paltrow ski trial?
No, I saw the vibe, but I didn't tune in.
Okay, well, we don't have to spend long on this, and you can cut it out. But I just thought it was the funniest thing ever. It was, first of all, the whitest trial in history. It was a retired optometrist suing Gwyneth Paltrow for the sum of $300,000 or something because she crashed into him on a ski accident. She then, by the way, they televised this trial for God knows why.
Wait, it was live broadcast?
It was live broadcast, like the Johnny Depp. It's so weird. She's got all these. She turned it in. I don't know if if it's right to say that she turned it into like a media circus, but she was wearing like a different outfit every day. Maybe people just do this because they're celebrities or whatever. But she was wearing like bold outfits. She was bringing in like water that she has like investments in.
Okay.
And
so it felt a little product placey.
The product placey. She then. I just found this really funny because obviously this guy had no case. He was maybe a little unhinged, and her argument was that he actually crashed into her, and then maybe felt her up while he was there. Yeah, she like kind of implied that he was making like some sexual noises while he was between her legs. Anyway, so then she counters this motherfucker. She countersues this guy for $1.
Oh,
which is a ballsy move.
That's some dick swinging.
That's some massive pussy swinging. She wins. She wins the trial, and then at the end of the trial,
is this in front of a jury or is this just with a judge?
Jury. Wow. At the end of the trial, I didn't watch it live. I'm just seeing like clips and stuff, but there were some interesting articles in the New York Times about it. Just like people were getting into it. She wins the trial. She wins $1. They let her out before everyone else because she's a celeb, and she goes over and whispers, "I wish you all the best," and then leaves. And it's not
whispers
picked up
to the
guy.
mics.
Whispers to the guy. Well, on
How
her
do we
way
know?
out, because it was lip read.
Oh.
So I just thought it was just a really nice breath of fresh air, you know, just a clean. Nice to see a celebrity winning. Nice to see a white woman back in charge.
Getting some, some more money, climbing that ladder.
I just love that for Gwyneth, and good luck to her.
You've long been a supporter of her and her products.
I love
in
Goop.
fact, you've lit her candle tonight as you drink your post-gym Chardonnay. and
Yep.
it's working for you.
My whole room smells like vagina.
Yeah,
And it's
and
and
this
it's
time from a
nice.
candle.
Oh, okay. Don't know if the missus is going to like that one, Nick. But leave it in, see if she picks it
We'll
up.
see. We'll see if that one makes the cut.
I'll go get an angry text.
Oh, apologies, everyone. Now, speaking of celebrities in legal trouble, Donald Trump tomorrow. It's a big day. Gets dragged into the station and mugshots taken, fingerprints taken.
He's not going to get mugshot though.
It won't be public, but it will happen.
Will it though?
Yeah, it is. It's just not publicly. It's not on the public record. It's not publicly accessible.
Donnie Lem said that it was not. He wasn't going to get the usual fanfare because it was counterproductive.
Oh well, maybe.
But wouldn't you love it? And wouldn't you? I mean, look, this ties back into our last episode as well. But like these images of AI generated images of Trump coming out.
Yeah.
I mean, they're so. We are living in a crazy time.
Yeah.
And it's getting. You know, when things are a little bit too close to the bone like that, when people are producing very high quality realistic images of Trump in handcuffs and stuff, it's like, oh, we're living in bizarro times now, I think.
It's there was also the Pope's puffer this past week or two, right? Which also went around.
Was so
which,
good.
Again, so believable. Like, believably.
Also, why would anyone make that? Why did anyone make that?
I mean, because we all saw the image and we understand exactly why. Because it looked badass. That's a great image.
It looked badass, but it also looked like he could have worn it. And it was
exactly.
Like, it was well done. It was realistic.
Yeah.
It wasn't like crazy. I think we're all like worried, or maybe we're thinking like, okay, if AI is going to, you know, be producing images, it's going to be so far fetched. But it's going to be the ones that are like, no, why would anyone try to do this?
Yeah. All I want to see now is Donald Trump in a puffer jacket.
I want to see Donald Trump in a puffer jacket with Stormy Daniels.
Did you know that, and this ties into a Rec Engine from before and possibly from later, that Stormy Daniels was in Party Down?
Did you tell me that? Maybe you told me that.
I didn't tell you that. Somewhere. I only just discovered it, but maybe you knew it or heard it.
No, maybe I did. Is she great? She's tried stand-up comedy for a little bit. Yeah,
I mean, this is not the recent episodes of Party Down. This is in like 2008.
Oh,
this was in the episode where they go to the porn awards.
Right.
Alrighty. Well, how about we jump in to the old Deep Thought mailbag? Mailbag, it's the weekly mailbag. Deep Thoughts mailbag. Okay, lots of nice feedback, I have to say up front, off the back of our 200th episode. A lot in particular about our new look. A lot of appreciation for Sean's art, and so thank you again, Sean, and thank you for those who sent in nice words, including Kana. Kana writes in a subject titled Love from Melbourne. Hi, I just wanted to say that your podcast is amazing. Listening to you both makes me laugh every day, and I'm learning so much about current affairs and culture. Oh, I also appreciate that you guys mentioned one of the TV shows I grew up watching, the Japanese kids going food shopping for their mums. I moved from Japan to Australia a few years ago. Thank you for filling my days with laughter every day. You guys are awesome. Love from Melbourne. Thank you very much, Kana. And I believe that neither of us know you, which makes it even more special. So thank you so much for your kind words.
We'll find out later that it's just someone playing a joke.
Someone's made a fake email
address. That's the level of our insecurity with this podcast. We're like, nah, that's someone we know. Just sending a nice email as a prank.
Yeah, it's happened. I think the most worrying thing is kind of saying they're learning so much about current affairs and culture from us. As an immigrant to Australia, well, you're the voice of the people. I'm a little worried that perhaps we are not the best sources of authority on either culture or current affairs.
No, we are though. We are.
Okay.
We are though. Who better? Name one person better than us. Exactly. You can't. You can't. You know what? We give. I know I'm the voice of the people, but I think of you as kind of a voice of the people, Nick,
Oh,
as
thank you.
well.
Thank
And I
you.
think that we look at current affairs and news with an ignorant eye, maybe some people would say. But in much the same way that Tom York, when he sits at the piano, doesn't necessarily know chords, but
Mhm.
creates beautiful art. I
Mhm.
think we, with our untrained brains and our naivete,
Mhm.
thank you, learned that
Thank you.
word yesterday.
Okay, you didn't have to draw
I
attention to it.
I think I think that we bring our own beauty to news and current affairs and hot button political issues.
Yeah.
So I think Kana's absolutely on the money, and I think I would go a step further, Kana, and I would say if you've come from Japan and you are immigrating into Australian society, I would say if English is not your first language,
It's
just
very
listen to
good.
this. Just listen to
Yeah.
this and
Yeah.
just pick up some of the words that we use.
Maybe this episode I won't edit out all our stammering and all the times we fuck up and retake lines. Maybe I'll just leave that all in as a true sample of the Australian vernacular.
Just to help Kana out a little bit.
Yeah. If Kana, if you're a recent listener, you might not have gone far enough back in time to have heard this. Michael, you remember this? A few years ago, we commissioned that study by a group of scientists, and they took a look at our demographics, at our listeners, and everything, and they concluded that Deep Thought listeners are some of the most attractive listeners out there. So, congratulations! By being a listener of this show, you have entered an echelon of hotness, the likes of which the world rarely sees. So, congratulations to all of you listening, and congratulations, Kana, you've joined the right club.
You've become hot.
You've become hot through the transitive property of podcasting.
But thank you for that. That is really sweet. And you know what? If you have been listening to the show, and I know a lot of people who we know listen to the show and just say fuck all, and they have said fuck all for
Getting a little bit negative.
what, 8 years, Nick?
Yep, getting quite
9
negative.
years.
Yep.
How about you fucking lift your game? How about you? We've been putting out fucking premium content for 9 fucking years, and you haven't said shit. Kana's listened to 2 episodes, sent a beautiful email. Would it kill you just to send us a nice little... Hey, what? You know what? It doesn't even have to be an email. Send us a fucking message on Instagram. Jesus.
I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed.
I come in a little bit hot there, did I?
A little bit hot.
Sorry.
If you've enjoyed this episode, well, thank you very much. You can find us on social networks like Facebook and Instagram at Deep Thought. You can find our music on Spotify, as the rest of our episodes. You can listen to us on a podcast player. That'll get you chapter titles and inbuilt images, which, if you don't like our waffling, you can jump ahead to the good bits or
just listen
other
to the
bits.
Joe Rogan Experience.
Exactly. And of course, if you want to be like Kana, you can send us an email to deepthought@gmail.com. We'll read it in our mailbag segment. So thank you all very much, and I hope you have a lovely day ahead. Whether that's working out in the fields or restocking the pins at a bowling alley, making a meal for your next door neighbor, climbing a tree and trying to recapture a cat, walking tight ropes in the park.
Nick, I think stop. Don't you reckon a bowling, like as far as first, I think we did pretty well having a job in a cinema as like one of our first jobs out of school. But working in a bowling alley just seems awesome,
Oh, absolutely not.
No?
Oh, no. Cinema's so much higher up the scale than bowling. In a cinema, you get to do the thing that people are going to your venue to do. You get to go there and just stand in the corner and watch the movies for like an hour and a half and then clean up for like 15 minutes and then just watch movies again. At the bowling alley, all you're doing is picking up like kid vomit and watching other people bowl in an extremely loud, screamy environment for hours on end. And you never get to even fucking roll the balls.
Yeah, that's a good point actually. And you've got kids love, I guess it's the same for movies, but there's more of a drinking culture with bowling. So you've got kids, spewing up spaghetti, and you've got adults spewing up Budweiser.
Booze.
Yeah. So yeah, I reckon you're right. What about video store though? I've always romanticized the video store because you just talk. It's all about the movies there.
Yeah, that's the quintessential like Hollywood screenwriter / actor first job.
Yeah.
You know, the number of people who are like, yeah, I used to work at the Hollywood Boulevard Blockbuster, and I rented a movie to, I don't know, John Wayne. He came in and he wanted to see Shrek 2, and I was there. It is a very romantic kind of previous era.
Have you ever been fired or anything from a job? Have you ever been bad at a job?
I've only had 2 jobs, 2 actual working for other people jobs. I worked at Wallace, and then I worked at Whitebait, and now I am a freelancer.
Dude. So white and so privileged.
Loyal. I worked at Wallace for 7 years.
Too long.
7 or 8 years, which is probably too long to work at a cinema. But hey, set me up. It worked.
Yeah.
Speaking of going to the movie store, how about a rec engine?
Hit me.
Grab the keys.
Welcome to Deep Thought's Recommendation Engine.
You said you had some things on your list.
I got 3 perlers, actually.
Oh, gosh. I'm ready.
All right. So, first one is a movie. It's cool. It was actually an Oscar-nominated... well, I'm not sure if the movie was Oscar-nominated, but an actor in it certainly was. It's called After Sun. It's a beautiful film. I think it's British. Might be Scottish. Should have known. It's been a few weeks since I've seen it, but it is a seriously gorgeous movie.
Is that the Colin Farrell?
No, that's Banshees. It's Paul Mescal, who's strongly on my radar now. He plays the dad. He's got a daughter, and they are essentially. I won't give away the plot, but the vibe of the movie is that he's kind of a loving father who's kind of fucked up a bit in his life, but he really loves loves his kid, and they have a really special connection. And she's a very wise, witty, intuitive person, even for her age. And she's kind of getting into that teenagehood, and wanting to experiment. But she's very much a warm. She's more emotionally intelligent than her father, I would say, and that creates some funny moments, and it creates some really beautiful, sad moments. And I was a real puddle of tears after this, and not in a bad way, which is the best.
No,
don't you just love this
hitting that like emotional vein and like get into you is so like
it wasn't
cathartic.
sobbing. It was just like exactly. It was cathartic. It was just like water leaking from my eyes, but it wasn't like. And there's something about father-daughter dynamics that I know. I don't know what it says about me, but I just respond to it so strongly. It had a real Sofia Coppola vibe, which she a lot of her films are kind of based around this dynamic, where it's like a daughter really trying to connect with her father, and her father kind of being a little bit bumbling and not quite emotionally intelligent. Anyway, I know a lot of people are talking about this movie now, but if you haven't seen it and you are thinking about it, seriously go watch it, because it's so beautiful. And Paul Mescal is great, and the daughter, I've forgotten her name, but she is phenomenal.
Did you see it in the cinema, or is it now streaming?
In the cinema, yeah.
Yeah, right.
But it might be streaming. It's like post Oscar.
I was going to say, like, I noticed. So I went to quite an indie theater to see Everything Everywhere All at Once, 9 months ago, whenever it came out, and was a bit annoyed that it wasn't in the biggest theaters, the Hoyts or the wherever. And then I saw the day after the Oscars came out and everything won fucking like 9 Oscars, that Hoyt sent out this email like, Everything Everywhere All at Once, now showing at Hoyt's for 2 days only. I'm like, bitch, you are a fraud. You were not there for it. You don't deserve their money.
Hell yeah. No, that's bullshit. I mean, good that more people are going to see it, but
It
also
was for 2 more days. Is the thing. Like, what are
have
you even fucking doing?
that's a thing. It's like where you have some stones, you know.
Yeah, jeez. I don't
If you
know.
think it's a good, I mean, you can't do it as a mainstream cinema like Hoyts, I guess, but
But
also
that's such a crossover hit. Like, that movie plays to anyone. I'm sorry. That they could have fucking tried.
no, I'm with you. I'm with you, Nick.
I got one here. It's one that I talked about a few weeks ago and one I alluded to earlier. But I'm all up to date. I've caught up on Party Down, and
Oh.
I'm ready to declare it one of the great comedies. It is a really
Whoa.
fucking good show, and
Now,
in
Party
particular,
Down season 2
I'm
is
all
a
up to
great
date.
comedy.
I've seen
So
season
you're
3, the reboot, as well.
okay.
Which
So
is
that's what I mean. Sorry. So
yeah.
when you're saying Party Down is a great comedy, this is all encompassing, including the problematic shit.
Correct. So we talked about the problematic shit a couple of eps back. I'm not going to relitigate that. Some of the early stuff just being a factor of the 2008 early thousands era in which it was made has a whole bunch of that like very tropey, now tired, like homophobic bullshit, which doesn't age well.
Love that.
But particularly weirdly enough, the Stormy Daniels episode is the worst of it. But anyway, the second season didn't really go there as much. I think they tonally shifted, tweaked it a little bit, and it was a very consistent, enjoyable year. And then 13 years pass, and they come back with this third season. Have you seen the third season yet, Michael?
No.
6 episodes, just 6 half-hour episodes. It is the best thing they've done. It is somehow better because they're 13 years later. All the casts have come back in, with one exception, Lizzie Kaplan, who couldn't do it for scheduling. I think she would have loved to do it.
I was wondering about that. I was wondering if she distanced herself from it.
She said no. She said exactly the opposite. She was filming Fleischman is in trouble, and just couldn't get away because they were doing the COVID bubble stuff, and they just couldn't make it work. But she said you would have
This
to
was kind of a break.
Yeah, that, and I guess Cloverfield maybe.
Yep.
But anyway, it was the same era. It was the same time, and she said you'd have to tie me to train tracks if they did a season 4 to keep me from coming back. Like, she was really gutted she didn't get to be there. But other than her, everyone else was back, at least for an episode or two. And it's better. It's better now that they're older. It's better because I guess the comedy now is 13 years more advanced. So they're playing in different territory. They're happy to be a little bit more dramatic at moments, which they didn't shy away from in the original. But I guess the landscape, post Louis, post the whole comedy uprising into dramedy and everything like that. Now they're happy to have those moments a bit more. And just as a premise, a show about failures, a show about people in the industry trying to get ahead in the world is just funny. And now that they're all in their fucking 40s and they're still waiting and like bartending and doing all this like really depressing stuff, it just works even better. Ken Marino is a fucking comedic genius. It all just played. And yeah, by the end of the 6th episode, the final of the 3rd season, I was like, they have to bring it back. They have to bring it back. So big thumbs up for the Party Down revival.
I remember they were with not a weird, but like
Stars. Yeah.
Stars. Are they still with? They're not still with Stars.
It's still Stars. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, it's great. There at the end of the 6th episode, I gasped out loud. Like there was a moment that really, really landed. It's really, really funny and it's really good. So I hope they make more.
Okay, I'm gonna put it on my list. I've just gotten around to John Wilson season 2.
Oh,
which
good
was
choice.
It's just so fucking
Unbelievable.
funny. But I feel like that type of show and John Wilson, that lighter kind of stuff, I can digest a bit easier. And speaking of digesting things easily, there's a new MH370 documentary on Netflix.
Michael.
And it is phenomenal. Okay.
Oh, God.
Listeners to the show, including Kana, I hope, will know that I'm a little bit obsessed with this plane that went down almost 10 years ago. I think about it genuinely 3 times a week on average, sometimes more, but never less. So maybe that brings the average up. But there's a new documentary on Netflix called MH370, The Plane That Disappeared, and boy, oh baby, they got some theories. And there's some theories, Nick, that I hadn't even thought of.
Aliens did it.
No, it's not aliens. I was kind of hoping for a little bit of alien action, but no aliens. We've kind of the theories kind of the prevailing theory has been that the pilot kind of suicided into the Indian Ocean just off the coast of Perth, but there's some new information, Nick, that suggests that it could be a hijacking. And no spoilers, but the end of the documentary, I think it's a three-part.
Wait, it's a series. Oh my god!
It's a docu-series, and I don't want to give anything away, but let me tell you that the end of the docu-series provides no resolution whatsoever.
Yeah. No, shock horror.
Completely ambiguous. They just present theories, but it is just for guys like me. It is mental masturbation.
This is completely unscientific. Like there's not like documentary. It's like Ancient Aliens. We're talking about imagined theories.
It's somewhere between Ancient Aliens and I don't know, The Toys That Made Us. I don't know if you saw that.
A sentence that has never been said before.
Yeah, I'm the first one. It is titillating, and if you like this, if you like aviation disasters, and if you like conspiracy theories,
if you
then
like
this
aviation
is the show
disasters.
Don't you love aviation disaster shows?
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it. Anyway, Netflix, baby. MH370, The Plane That Disappeared. Titillate yourself.
Okay. Wow, strong Rex this episode. I'll throw one more in the mix just because it's only just started and I got good feelings. Succession is back. Succession is back for season 4. Fuck yeah, that's a great show. It's a tragedy, it's a comedy, it's a drama. What a show. It feels like now they've really pulled the ripcord and the parachute has been cut because this thing is accelerating towards the end and it's gonna be some splats at the end.
I'm literally gonna watch the first episode tonight.
Yeah.
So
I would not talk spoilers. I never would. But I guess perhaps one of the slight criticisms you could lay at the feet of the show for previous seasons that it could be a little bit circular in terms of Logan would do a thing, the kids would push back, the kids would get in trouble, the kids would argue, they'd fight each other, they'd fight Logan, something would happen, and then go ahead and reset it for the next season. It feels like now there's no more putting the genie back in the bottle with some of the stuff that they're doing.
Okie dokie.
Yeah, which is great, which is good.
Fun fact, did you know I went to school with Sarah Snook?
I did not know that, particularly because her name's Sarah Snook. But maybe we're talking about two different people.
I called her Snookster.
I bet you did.
Yeah, Snooky, my little Snooky. I called her. And she called me
Stay away
a lot. She called me fuck off. We had little cute names for each other.
Yeah.
I do tell people that I bring it up as soon as that show's mentioned and you're not around. I'm like, my friend / colleague / co-host actually went to school with Sarah
colleague.
Snook.
That's quite nice.
I call you colleague. Yeah,
my professional colleague, Nick.
Yeah, and I bet you when you refer to me,
I don't tend to talk about you to other people.
Yeah. This guy I employ for the podcast that I do.
Yeah, we have sort of a transactional relationship.
In a way, I mean, yeah, we do. We do.
Did you have any other recs?
Yeah, I do. I've got one more rec, but it's super quick and it's super awesome.
Okay, go for it.
It's a food.
Oh, you can't, Michael. We've talked about this. You can't use Rec Engine for food. The
Yes, you
concept
can,
of
Nick.
the concept of the show is a recommendation engine. It's an algorithm.
No.
It's something that we're talking about consuming media. No one is getting recommended fruits on their phone.
Don't give a shit about your rules. Stop trying to put me into a box. I'm recommending this week jerky.
Sorry,
okay?
you're recommending.
I'm recommending the food jerky. Have you had jerky? Do you eat jerky?
No, I haven't had jerky.
Okay, I've just started eating it. It's delicious. And the other thing about jerky is that it's literally the perfect snack. It's dried. I get the spicy version of it. It's healthy. It fills you up. It gives you energy. It tastes delicious. You can chew on it for literally hours, and it makes you feel amazing. And I don't know. I don't think it's a. I think I should be allowed to recommend a dried meat from time to time.
You can't recommend meat on Rec Engine.
Yes, you can. Jerky.
What meat are you getting? What are you eating?
Probably beef. I don't check.
You don't.
It doesn't
check.
matter. It doesn't matter though. That's the thing. The brand that I get is called Roadkill, but it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be a brand. I'm not recommending a brand. I'm just recommending a concept, which I think is quite nice, which is quite novel.
Who is eating jerky these days? When you're standing there in the supermarket perusing your Roadkill, who's the person standing next to you going, "Oh yes, I think I'll have one of those, please." And to answer my own question, why is it an 85-year-old man?
Look, I'm not going to confirm or deny that, but I will say there is a lot of white goatees around that section.
Okay. So it fills you up. You say it takes you hours to eat.
If you want to, you could just swallow it in a couple of bites if you wanted to have really bad digestion, but you could.
How chewy are we talking here? Because my first thought is this is to Michael, the child, the 8-year-old at the fun fair getting the toffee apple, one bite and there's a tooth coming out in that thing. I am incredibly worried about your recent dental work. Going for a jerky chew, that just seems like courting disaster.
No, there's been some issues. I've had some issues with jerky in that department as well. But it just tastes so good. And like I said, it's healthy, gives you... Have I said that? Have I said it?
You did say healthy, but I'm not sure what... Based on what? Salt?
It's just pure protein.
Okay.
Pure protein and preservatives. That's all you need.
Okay. Again...
You're being a bit of a jerky right now, I think.
I would like to make clear that this is not to happen again.
Food. It can't just be...
Food in the
Nick,
Rec Engine. I'm just drawing a line.
All of your recommendations are just shows that no one's going to watch. Who cares? Everyone watches Succession, so why are you recommending it? Idiot. Sorry. It came out again.
Again, came very hard.
I can't really oscillate between the gears today. It's a 1 or a 6.